All right, ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to What Do You Say? My name's Andrew Termini. With me, as always, is my brother and your host, Frank Termini. If you like what we're doing here, please go out there, like, subscribe, and leave us a review. And remember to turn on those notifications so you can be updated every time we upload some new content. And we are dreaming for a day where the internet overlords don't make us have people like and subscribe. Well, we need your subscriptions, but the like button is kind of one of those things where it's like, I just wish quality content could get out there to get to most people, but that's not the case. So like us, repost us, and
we're getting a lot of views a week.
Yeah, no, we are.
We get probably 3,000 people listening to it a week.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, wow.
Now, YouTube, and I didn't realize this, but YouTube's the hardest one to crack.
Oh, yeah.
So if you look at the YouTube numbers, you get really discouraged.
Well, people listen. It's just easier to listen when you're
I'm
doing
a watcher.
Stuff. Yeah.
I like to watch them. I like seeing the nonverbals. I like all of that. So I usually.
Well, you're officially a podcast host. I mean, you host a podcast. So, yeah, I mean, you're into it.
I just like to, even before I ever did a podcast.
Congrats.
Before I ever did a podcast.
You are a podcast
you
personality.
Have arrived.
You have
You
arrived.
look so good, Frank. You want them to watch you.
Yeah.
Right. Yeah.
You've arrived.
Yeah, right. Well, today we got a good one. We got Florance Badalucco.
Yeah.
You show your age when you start calling women by their maiden names.
Right.
Yeah.
My mom and dad used to do that, and I'd have no idea who they were talking about.
Right.
But Florance Badalucco and Tony Badalucco, and this is probably one of the first stories of this kind.
Yes, I would say it is.
Yeah,
and I believe it's the month for it. Is that right?
You know what?
Yeah.
Never even thought about that.
Yeah, I believe it is.
It is.
Mhm.
Never even thought about. Now, is it only breast cancer for
Yes.
October?
Yes.
Yeah.
Okay.
I didn't know
so-
before all this, but a lot of different cancers have special months and ribbon colors. It's a whole thing.
Yeah. So let's see. I'm 40. I'll be 46 on Halloween. You're probably what, 42?
Yeah, I just turned 42 in September.
So you graduated probably in 2001.
Correct.
Okay.
Good
Okay.
math skills.
Well, I'm
He's
just
a math
thinking. I don't
genius.
think
Yeah.
you might have been a freshman when I was a senior.
Yeah. Something like, because, Jimmy was
Jimmy was in
He
my
was
class.
senior when I was a freshman.
Then I
So
was gone.
You were gone.
Yeah.
I was gone.
Because you were at Pius and I was at Tonka.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Yeah. You
But
went
I was running with all the people.
right.
Yeah.
I was everywhere.
Yeah.
'cause Jimmy and Jay and
Yeah. How's
Yeah.
Jay doing? I haven't seen Jay.
Great.
Yeah.
Yeah.
he's in Vegas. He's got a great
He lives in
girl.
Vegas.
Yeah.
I love Vegas. I wouldn't know that I want to live there, but I love Las Vegas.
I
Yeah.
love Jay. Let me tell you that.
Yeah. He's a big
Jasper
heart.
he's a good guy.
Yeah.
Yeah. I lucked out in the brothers.
You really
I
did.
really lucked out with my
Jimmy
brothers.
and Jay.
Like solid characters.
And growing up, if you wanted to get into some shit, you'd hang out with Jay a little bit. And if you wanted to
Yeah.
have
Yeah, we know.
Hey,
Best of both worlds.
if you want to have just a calm, relaxing,
Two polar opposites
level head
at that point in their lives.
At that point in their life,
Oh,
Very
which
much.
you and I probably were too.
Yeah, for sure.
So
For sure.
It's so true. I always say that Jimmy gave me my responsibility and drive for like career and finance, and Jay's like the subconscious and the depth, and like he'd roughhouse with me, and like I feel like I could fight if I needed to fight.
Because
Like,
Jay's probably what, 2 years younger than you, Drew?
Jay is, I believe, 2 years younger. Yes.
Yeah.
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 So,
We're all in a row. My mom had 3 kids in cloth diapers in a row.
oh, listen, I know all about it. And then I also had teenagers at the same
Yeah,
time.
You got a wild.
And I used to
you're-
have a lot of hair.
Yeah, listen, it's bravery. It's
Yeah.
bravery.
That's what I'm gonna say about my gray hair.
I do want to say that Frank T had chest hair when he was 12 years old.
Hold on, you know what's funny?
Down in Brooktree.
You know what's funny? So like I played for the Necco Raiders growing up.
That's right.
And the whole entire football team, we were just a group of guys that matured so fast. The whole team, beards, like, yeah, I mean, shaving,
Yeah.
you know, the whole 9 yards by the time we were 12, 13 years old. It was
Yeah.
crazy.
Bunch of Italian kids. I cheered for Necco. I forgot about that. Yeah.
Just a bunch of freaks in nature. So I want to get into this. So you are 42, and how old were you when you were diagnosed with breast cancer?
So I turned 40 in September, And I went to my OBGYN like in November. And he said, guess what? Everything feels great. There's no lumps. There's no bumps. There's no symptoms. You look great. Weight's good. Health's good. A+ on my exam. But you're 40, so you got to start going and getting your baseline screen.
Which is what, like a mammogram?
It's a mammogram. No big
Yeah.
deal, you know, and everybody's like, oh, it's really painful. And I'm like, oh, it doesn't sound fun, but all this stuff is just what you got to go do. So I set up my appointment, and that day I got a text from my mom that said it was me and my 2 cousins, Angela and Christy, and it said, hey, Uncle Vic tested positive for some kind of weird genetic mutation that causes breast cancer. And when the text came in, I thought, ooh, I didn't feel good, but I was really grateful that I'd made the appointment. And I go in, and they were like, no big deal, did the exam, you know, and I never thought about it until I got a phone call. They said, come back. There's a suspicious finding. And I thought, okay, that's not good. Of course, I Googled.
You have to wiggle the cord.
Just take it,
Tap, tap, tap,
go right here like this, and push it up. There you go. Try
like
that. There you go.
There
you go.
I had the touch.
So,
Yeah.
so they say there's a suspicious finding. And then how long do you have to wait before you can get back in?
They got me in quick. They did get me in quick. Like, it was like days.
Okay.
And at that,
That's still a long time.
I know. And like, I didn't want to tell anybody, but I told Tony, told my mom. And I was like, listen, it's probably nothing. They said I had breast dense tissue, and women who have thick breast tissue are at higher risk for cancer to harbor and have, you know, these misdiagnoses. It could go either way.
Okay.
So I show up, I put on my little gown, I go in and I do my thing. And they said, wait here. And so I'm waiting and I'm waiting. And then here comes the tech with the radiologist. And she says, listen, we got a biopsy. It could go either way. If I guess it's cancer, it's not, vice versa. You just got to get in there and figure it out.
So they have to do a biopsy.
Mm-hmm.
Did they do it right there?
No, I had to schedule an appointment. The funniest thing, the nurse was literally like looking at me, and she was doing the check-in and said, do you weigh more than 300 pounds? Because the table can't hold it. I said, I don't. Okay, we're good. I mean, it was just like this. She was just, I felt like it was an assembly
Like a
line.
robot.
Like a robot.
Yeah.
I'm like, do you think I weigh more than 300? So it's a stereotactic biopsy. You lay on a table and you put your breast into like a hole, and it's like a car mechanic. Like, it raises off the floor. And they have my neck twisted and my breast is in this thing, and I'm raised up and they're underneath me, numbing me. And the girls were precious. Like, they were sweet, confident, young girls. Like, they were great. They were little angels. Take some biopsies. Then they clip you. This is so barbaric.
Clip you where?
You get like a chip implanted, like a little rice clip, like a little staple inside your breast tissue where they're taking, because if it's not cancer, they watch it.
Oh, so they could see it all the time.
Yeah.
That's interesting.
Right?
Yeah.
Like, I didn't know the half of this.
Yeah.
Like, we don't learn this stuff. In fact, I thought breast cancer was like a ball tumor. I didn't know the half. I didn't know anything. So I go in, and then they do a mammogram. And then I was like, okay, see you later. And then days go by again. And you're like, well, I don't know. Like, what is this? Maybe it is. And, you know, you're like, get my head into the right frame of mind, because I'm not going to dwell on it. But I got a phone call. I was at work, and I had one more client left. And my doctor's office calls, and I answered it knowing that there's a client waiting for me, and like, I'm running late. And I said, is this something that we need like more than like a second to say like, you're good, green light? And he said, yeah. And I knew I had cancer. I was like, I said, okay. He's like, I'm going to give you, this is my OBGYN. He said, I'm going to give you my cell phone because I know you're not crazy, and call me when you're done. And I said, okay, cool. So I had session with a teenage girl who was great, one of my like precious clients. And I dissociated through half of it because I was sitting there going, oh my God, I have cancer. Oh my God, I have cancer.
You're there, but you're not present.
I was so not present for her. In fact,
Sure.
next time she came back,
You were better off telling her, listen, we need to reschedule.
yeah, because I felt terrible. When she came in 2 weeks later, I go, I haven't seen you in forever. And then I thought, oh my gosh, I like dissociated through part of her session. Like,
Yeah.
what the hell? So yeah, I called him back and he said, listen, I got good news. This was the misdiagnosis. I got good news. You have stage 0 ductal carcinoma in situ. It's Latin INSITU. I'm probably saying it wrong. But he said, here's the deal. This is quick. You're going to get a lumpectomy. We're going to take a little chunk out. You're going to have some radiation. Call it a day. Get you on some meds. Like, I'm so glad you did this because we caught it early. And I was like, cool.
Well, in situ means that it has not left the breast.
That's right. It's like in a boundary of your
So
cell.
you could have actually removed the breast duct and had clear margins. Very lumpectomy, which is a simple surgery, which is kind of what we were.
Yeah, I was like, great, 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 great. And so I thought, and I mean, listen, women that go through that, they're still a survivor to me.
Sure.
Like,
Absolutely.
I'm not discounting it, but I was in my mind space thinking, like, I don't care if you have stage 0, but that sounded really good.
Right.
So I call my family up and my mom's like, you better call your brothers. And I'm like, "Ugh." Everybody was real supportive and cool. And they're like, all right, we're with you. Like, here we go. And, it was just kind of no big deal. Like, we really weren't. I mean, I was scared, but I don't think I was.
You want it out.
Yeah.
Stage 0 or not, you want it out.
Yeah. Like, get this thing going. Well, everybody said, you're at North Kansas City and it's a great hospital, but KU's got it going on. Like, you need to transfer. And I was like, okay, I don't know much about cancer. Like, okay, let's go. And so that was on a 2-week wait list.
That's really not bad for KU.
Right. So I'm waiting and I'm waiting. And we're just going in for the lumpectomy consultation. The surgeon. That's it. My mom and I go.
So wait, you're going into KU for the lumpectomy consultation.
Yeah.
So North Kansas City does all the diagnostics.
I could have had surgery there. I could have very well just showed up and did it and moved along. But everybody said, go to KU, get a second opinion. Like, why not?
So you go there just to get a consult.
Yep.
Okay, now at that point they're reading what's already been done from North Kansas City Hospital.
But they want to redo all of it.
Of course they do.
I have to start. In fact, I learned it's a busy business, cancer.
Sure. Oh, gosh.
Busy business. No matter where you go. God bless the people who do the work, but it's a busy business. And so, 2 weeks, and the surgeon comes in. I had to do a second mammogram, and I had to do a ultrasound. This was unique. They did an ultrasound of my armpit. And I was thinking, why
lymph
didn't we?
nodes?
Yeah, I was like, why didn't we do that? And I remember like laying with my arm like this in the room, and I just thought, gosh, she's taking a lot of notes and clicking it. When you get an ultrasound and they like stop and you're going.
They were doing that to me with when I did my heart. I do it one, and it makes me nervous every time. It's like, what are you typing?
Yeah.
Why are you stopping?
And they're like really focused in on an area. And I'm like, oh, okay, positive thinking. But this is kind of scary. And so then my mom and I are like meeting. We met these beautiful women in the lobby. This is in, what's that center by you? It's the KU Cancer Center in Leawood Indian Creek.
Yeah, I know where you're at.
Yeah. So like there's a big, beautiful lobby, and met all these really sweet women who were survivors. It felt very like spiritual and good, and everybody was hopeful. We get into the room, and the surgeon comes in and says, yeah, you got cancer everywhere.
What?
Yeah. I go,
that's how he said it to you?
It was a female. She came marching in with her big heels and red. Yeah.
The oncologist.
No, this was the surgeon. This was
gotcha.
the oncology surgeon.
Got it.
She comes in and says it's everywhere, and we can't do a lumpectomy or we'll deform you. You got cancer all over your breast, and I think it's in your lymph nodes. I go, no, that's not you have a different chart. I'm here for the lumpectomy. Like, who,
you're in complete and total denial.
My mom and I literally thought she read the wrong chart. And she's like, no, we did different scans and it's like all over. And if we did a lumpectomy, you wouldn't have a breast. You have to have a mastectomy, and you need to get a biopsy now of your lymph nodes.
Wow.
Yeah. My mom
and you hear these doctors, there's some of them are motherfuckers. I mean, because the doctor that informed us about my son, Andrew, walked in the room and said, Andrew has an inoperable brain tumor on his brainstem, and walked the fuck out.
Okay.
That is how he gave us that information.
And how
He
old is
didn't
Andrew?
say sit down. He didn't say he walked into the room and just said it. I mean, now I get it. There's no easy way to say that and give that information, but come on.
Soft landing.
on.
Soft landing.
landing.
We get a soft landing.
I'm like,
Right?
are you
You know,
kidding?
come on.
Like that is, listen.
Well, here, you weren't down there yet, but I went after that motherfucker.
Oh, I hope you did.
I went after him and the cops grabbed me. They
Yeah.
had security there.
Yeah.
And then I said, keep that motherfucker away from me. I don't even know what his name was, but the person that took over the case, her name was Max Hetherington. She was great and she was
Aw.
super nice, but this guy was fuck him.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? I'm like,
Yeah.
listen, I get it. You're desensitized and I get you probably have to be to some level in order to not let your emotions get into your decision making. I get it. Everything about it sucks. But come on, dude.
I'll say this. Sometimes really, really, really smart people have a little bit of autism.
For
Sprink-
sure.
He
sprinkled
might
it.
have had
And-
some Asperger's or some
And
shit
so
like
he
Yeah, no, that's legit.
that. Yeah.
you know,
Like they have a heart, clearly,
yeah.
but the like what I learned is there's a balance of head and heart. There were so many people that wanted to help me, and they would show up with like a opinion, but it felt kind of cold and know it all. And I
Mhm.
do that sometimes myself. Or they were like a bleeding heart that would like secretly, like they didn't know what to say, but they would like drop me food off and like run kind of vibe. And then there's some people that lead with both,
Yeah.
and they know what to say and they know what to do. And you know what I mean? Like,
Yeah.
I feel that. I feel that.
Well, because it's kind of it's similar to a loss, you know, and like when you go through a loss, you realize if someone comes up to you and says anything other than I'm sorry, they're probably saying something fucking stupid.
Mhm.
I mean, really, just you are. I
Yeah.
mean, if you're one of those people that sit in the line at the wake and talk to the family for like 5 minutes, then you're a fucking jack off and you're probably saying something fucking stupid. And if you think I'm talking about you, I fucking probably am.
Yeah.
Okay,
It would be
get the fuck on, say you're sorry, and people got shit going on,
Yeah.
right? I mean, seriously.
Yeah.
And
Sorry.
I've been in the spot and the worst of the worst.
Yeah, you've
and-
been a lot of
And
times.
so if you're saying anything other than I'm sorry, it's stupid.
No stories.
I mean, seriously, just go. Just, I'm, you know,
Yeah.
I remember the very first time.
Especially Italian way.
Oh, it's here, but I remember Pastor Philip when Nina passed away, and he said, and he sat here with me and he prayed with me, and he said one of the first things he said when he was praying, he said, "Dear Lord, protect them from some of the stupid things people are going to try to say to make them feel better." I swear to God, it was verbatim what he said.
I love
and I'm like,
it.
but you know what it made me do? It made me so many times grab my wife and say, don't listen to that.
Yeah.
Michelle, don't listen to that.
Yeah.
Hey, I'd grab her when someone would come up to her. Don't listen to that. Don't listen to that. You know, it's like, come on, people. I'm sorry. Move the fuck on.
Sorry if there's anything I could do, please let me know.
That's it.
Yeah.
That's it.
That's it.
Or you know what? Just be there.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think because
Just be there.
nobody ever says, "Hey, you know, I've gone through this, and you gave me that. Hey, if you need anything, well,
Well, here,
That's
think about
right,
this
you
though.
know,
That's
it's like-
right. You're right.
Think about this, and I remember them talking about this in crisis situations when someone's dealing with crisis, or maybe they're a suicide person or something. You don't ever want to go up to those folks and say, "Hey, if you need something, call me," because all you just did was add something to their plate.
Yes. Yes.
yeah, that's good."
It's
You
so
know what I
true.
mean? So you're better off just go do it.
Go do it.
Just go do it.
when
And
my-
if they don't need it, who cares? Just do
Right.
it.
You did it out of gratitude. You didn't need a thank you card.
Yeah, that's
Yeah.
it. Just go bring them food. Go bring them a gift. Go bring them a card. Go, you know, whatever. Just go do it. Don't ask them.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. When
You know?
when JP got diagnosed, you know, my buddy who passed from cancer.
Right.
Mm.
When he got diagnosed, I mean, it was a 2-week time frame from his diagnosis to I think till he passed.
Mm.
And
You had to ignore a lot of symptoms for that to happen.
you know what, Frank? I mean, he was actually in up until like 3 weeks prior was feeling really good. You know,
Oh,
Really?
yeah,
that's
and he
so-
had stage 4 colon cancer.
Oh, it's some of
Yeah.
these are silent.
Yeah,
Some of them, like ovarian,
Really?
is silent.
yeah, he was good. Man. He was good,
Mm.
and
Mm.
we just kept showing up until the family said, we need some time. JP needs some time to rest. And so
Yeah, then you leave them alone.
then that was
Right.
one of those things where I was like,
Mhm.
okay, it's time to get the family some space. And they send out memos to the fire department so everybody knows, hey, that family asked for no more visitors until we notify you.
Right.
Mhm.
So, but
Mhm.
but I think it's just showing up,
Yeah.
Yeah.
being there,
Yeah.
So
Mm.
now you are told you have you think you have a very localized spot, stick and move, no pun intended, radiation in and out, gone. And you come to find out that it's infected the entire breast and even in the lymph nodes. Is this all on your right side because you were pointing to your right shoulder?
All on the right. In fact, my appendix ruptured on my right. I had autoimmune stuff on my right, and now I have right breast cancer.
So, all right. Talk to me about getting that diagnosis. And I mean, having your mortality thrown in your face that way, because so many people walk around day to day, including me, like they're going to get out alive. And and when you and I really don't, because as a physical therapist, you'll see patients with cancer all the time. You'll see, I sell hospice, and so your mortality's thrown in your face a lot as a physical therapist.
Right.
Um, uh, but but even so, when it's not you personally, I think everyone just thinks it's not going to happen to me.
For sure. I had to get another biopsy, and they nicked my nerve, and they pinned my arm down and said, "Don't move. This is so dangerous." Resident nicked my nerve. I still get pain here. And I had to wait for like days. And the day I get told that it's invasive, my cell phone is like not working. Like
Amazing.
it's not working. And I'm waiting for a phone call. And I'm like, what is going on? Kept resetting my phone. People would call me and it wouldn't ring, and it was just going straight to voicemail, straight to voicemail. So I finally get off work, and I'm like, I couldn't get a hold of anybody because it wouldn't ring. And then I get the voicemail. So I had to get on my chart, KU, and see that it was indeed, in their medical terminology, invasive.
Invasive meaning.
It's in my lymph nodes.
So okay, so you find this out in your my chart.
Mm-hmm. And there's more. They think that it's in my liver. They think it's metastasized.
I think it's metastasized. Okay.
So I had to have a CT scan and a PET scan. And let's go back to your question. The night that it was in my lymph nodes, and he'll remember this well, I wailed like a baby. I mean, it was like, whoa, like I was pissed.
Oh, sure.
Yeah.
I was
For
mad,
sure.
I
Yeah.
was sad. Like, talk about grief. Like I was sad. I was mad. I was scared. I felt disgusted by the whole thing. I was just like, whoa. I'm sure you remember that. He was my rock.
I mean, and really, the only thing that I could do is just be there.
Well, and how
There's
humbling,
nothing I can say that's gonna.
how humbling is it when your wife is hurting and you can't help? As a man, is there anything worse than that?
No.
I mean, it is infuriating.
It is.
It is infuriating.
And it builds inside you.
Oh, it's awful. It's awful. And then when you have kids and they're going through it, it's so horrible to be in that situation as a man and not be able to do anything for them.
No. And we knew at that point it was going to be a lot of time before we had any sort of idea how this was all going to.
Which is more miserable. It's like on fucking death row.
It was.
I mean,
It's like sitting on death row waiting.
Yeah, it's going to be 2 years down the road. But, we also, I think, got over that. You got over it pretty quick.
Well, you, like, even though, like, you didn't know what to say, like Tony, the reason that we're together is because of his faith. Like, I know he believes in God and he's a spiritual man. And so he would say, let's pray. Let's pray.
What do you do?
Right?
What else?
do you do? I'm like,
But here at the end of the day, control over something is a figment of your imagination.
For sure.
The only thing you can control is your response, your attitude, and your effort. That's it. That's all you can control.
That's it.
You don't get to, and that's whether you're talking about an athlete or just in life or
Mhm.
this. You you had no control.
No.
So
Total shock.
so when you like you should be posturing that way whether you have a cancer diagnosis or not, and not just you, but everyone.
Yeah, for sure.
You should posture
feel
that
that.
way no matter what.
Right.
So
Right.
what would you say? What would you say kept you guys grounded in that time? When you found out until you were ready to kind of face the realities of it.
Yeah, I started journaling, and then our families, like
Yeah.
our friends and family, my colleagues, like I'm gonna cry. Like I saw God through the people, and like our moms, stepmom, stepfather, dad, like everyone, my brothers, my sister-in-law, like my brother's fiance, like my friends, and like they just talk about showing up with heart and head. They showed up, and people that I didn't even know loved me were sending me cards. We made a shrine, he called it, on the fireplace of all the like cards that were like thinking of you.
She's like Ferris Bueller, the most popular person in the history of the world.
Right. Yeah.
It
Right.
was just
No,
like,
seriously, she had like 55,000 cards.
Stop
everywhere. I sent
it.
me, I'd get like 3 cards.
That's not
Mom,
true.
Maybe my brother, maybe my sister, my
No.
dad.
Like I just saw like people's hearts open, and
Well,
was
a lot of
amazing.
times, and at least this is at least in my experience, but that's where you see God is in the shit.
yeah, that's
You know what I mean? That's
yeah.
where you see him. You see him embedded deep in that storm. And, because I could, like, if I were to sit there and point out the most clearest I ever heard his voice was in the darkest time in my life.
Absolutely, always. It's always
So you mentioned something about self-advocacy in healthcare. So how would you recommend for other people to, as they're going through their own health journey, to advocate for themselves?
It's a good question. Yeah, like I've always, since I was 15, and they told me that my ruptured appendix was a somatic symptom of an insecure high school girl with an eating disorder, and that's why I was throwing up. I have been like, no.
Oh, here, some of these doctors are stupid.
I know. And my mom was like, I was so proud of you even back then. Like, I know my body. If we are breathing and feeling beings, we know our body. And when something isn't right, you better listen to that gut. I'd rather you have peace of mind and go get something checked and be told, yeah, you're a little anxious. Like, oh well. Like I just, you have got to advocate. And the whole journey was me standing up to surgeons, doctors, and saying, no, I'm done with this. I'm done with that. We're not doing it this way. But then those that came forward that had the heart and the mind, I got quiet and would listen and respected them. And we would go back and forth. And it's just what, sometimes if you can't be that voice for yourself, then you bring a friend, you bring somebody crazy like me who will talk back.
Here, I said this when Dad died. I said, if you're in that situation, because my dad had his prostate removed, came out of surgery, had a heart attack, was intubated, and then died 2 days later. But if you are in that situation and you don't have someone who has some wherewithal and can advocate for you, you are a sitting fucking duck.
You are.
You are a sitting duck. And luckily, I was able to call the Dr. Ciceros and the Dr. John Cascones of the world, and I know just enough to at least be able to ask the right questions.
For sure.
You know what I'm saying? And so, yeah, it's some of these people you're sitting ducks, because these doctors, and this is one thing I always told therapists that work for me, I don't care how educated you are, and how much you think you know. That patient knows their body way more than you ever can.
Oh, God bless you for saying
That was one thing that I used to always tell people, and there were times where I would treat something that a patient felt. So I remember this one time in particular, this lady could swear her mid back pain was coming from her mid back, and I didn't think that it was. I thought it was coming from her neck. But you know what I did? I treated her mid back. And then when she didn't get any better, I said, "Listen, let me just try something." Right? And then she bought into it more versus if I would have said, "No, this is how we're going to do this." Then she's going to, if you can't get him to buy into what you're doing, you're never getting anyone any better.
No, it's resistance now.
So I had but here I had been wrong in certain situations too, where I'm like, I don't think this is the right play, but I'm going to go ahead and do it. And they got better.
I love it.
So listen,
Honor the person, honor the mind, honor the body, honor the spirit. If in their mind it's her mid back, she would have left you and
went someplace else
and been called somatic, and who knows, you saved her. You helped her.
So, but I think doctors need to pay more attention to what the patients are telling them, as opposed to, and part of the problem is it's so insurance driven that the whole entire time they're in there with you, they ain't even looking at you. They're doing this and they're typing and they're typing.
Well, they don't really want you asking questions.
You know what? You're right.
Yeah.
Here, if you
ought to, don't want you on Google trying to figure out what.
Well, and you really shouldn't be, because Google will have you dead a lot of times.
Well, absolutely.
Now in your situation, it's a little bit
scenario.
But because I didn't like it when my patients did that either. I'm like, dude, Google, you could type in knee pain and Google could say you have a sarcoma.
Right.
Yeah,
so
I tore my calf. I had 14 different tears all over it. The thing is shredded.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? Like,
yeah. I mean, so you just got to be careful. But you should listen to Mitch Thompson's podcast, because Mitch had Crohn's disease. They wanted him to be on IV Remicade, and he was like, "No, you're not. I'm not getting on that."
Yeah.
And he actually fixed himself with his diet.
Oh, that's great.
Yeah, but the diet, you should actually talk with Mitch.
yeah, we should link them together.
We should link you guys up, because
He's
there are certain foods we know now. Here, sugar. You shouldn't eat sugar.
Oh, at the chemo lounge, they passed Diet Cokes and sugar in the chemo
which
cart.
does not even make any sense.
After my dietitian told me, we know that sugar can feed cancer.
Right.
And then I go sit, I call it the chemo lounge. I don't mean to be disrespectful, but like those people in there are angels.
Yeah.
The volunteers and the nurses are angels. But the head who decides the snacks has Diet Coke. I go, this is keeping them in business, I guess. I don't know what we're doing.
No,
Yeah.
but I mean, not only does it help with joint pain, muscle pain, and all your aches and pains, but it's anti-carcinogenic. I mean, it helps with, because we also know sugar creates inflammation in your brain, which can relate to Alzheimer's, Parkinson's, all kinds of shit. Not to mention, watch what happens when you get off that shit. You'll freaking withdraw like an addict.
Yeah.
It's terrible for you.
Yeah. I used to eat 4 or 5 bomb pops a day.
Without breaking a sweat.
How
about when I used to eat
that we don't eat sugar in our house because we both still do. We're not like the. I mean, yeah.
Used to eat sleeves of Oreos. Sleeves of Oreos.
I mean, that's a good time.
It's great.
It's a good time.
It's great. It is. In the middle of the night, I would be half asleep, just dunking him in milk like an idiot.
He likes peanut. He's a little chocolate bear, and like his bed. And then I go buy it, like, because he's healthy.
We're healthy till I choke on it.
But he eats chocolate in his sleep.
But what I was going to get back to is after you got diagnosed and you kind of went through all of the, crying and getting it all out, you didn't necessarily attack it like, real. You were positive, but you were more like attacking it as like she was going to war. Like Florance, I felt like she was at war, and she researched and called and met with doctors. And my stepfather is a cosmetic surgeon. We talked to him. He made calls. We just tried to reach out and try and find as much information out what she had and her options.
Sure.
Would you say that
And
helped
she led
you
that. She led
be
that.
the advocate for yourself when you went to these doctors? So you did your research and did your due diligence. So you had a series of questions to ask them. So you know, okay, they're going to try to guide me in one direction. And if I don't pose any resistance, then I'm not going to get any a deeper response or a look at what I'm going through.
It did, and I appreciate that question and you saying that about me because I didn't feel that way. I felt lost. I felt scared. People die in my family when they get cancer. Like,
So let me ask you this.
I didn't think
Did you ever have that voice tell you, I'm going to be like my dad?
for sure. My uncle was dying of leukemia.
That's
I-
right, because your dad's brother
Uncle
died
Vic,
too. That's
My
right.
uncle, and I was going to be his bone marrow donor because I matched him out of all 5 grandkids.
Oh man.
Now his two brothers did too, but I thought I was 50% match for my Uncle Vic and I was going to be the bone marrow donor. So I'm thinking my dad had the BRCA gene, which we end up learning.
Oh, your dad had the BRCA gene.
Well, my mom tested and she doesn't have it.
So it has to be him.
And my Uncle Vic had it.
So
Have you been
what kind
tested
of
for it,
kids?
Frank?
No.
Oh, okay. I didn't even know there was a test for it. I haven't.
No, mom's had
Oh, there's
done
a
all.
whole
Mom and
series.
Aunt Andrea did all the genetic testing, and she asked me to do it. And I said, "Wait a second. If I have one of these genes, can they do anything?" No. Why the fuck do I want to know that?
Yeah, I don't want to know.
Well, I'll tell you why for women.
Okay.
I'll be the devil's advocate for a sec. So I'm all about like be positive, don't be in scared mind state. Like that doesn't serve anybody. But if I knew, because we found out we had cousins that had the BRCA2 gene, which causes breast cancer, prostate cancer, ovarian cancer, melanoma, and what else? Breast, ovarian, prostate, melanoma, and pancreatic. Oh, skin cancer. So what you do, and everybody needs to know this. First of all, you don't go get genetic tests without getting your life insurance solid.
Mine's already taken care of.
Yeah,
It could
mine.
deny you.
Yeah.
Okay, not your health, but your life. Number 2, unless you're really well off, insurance companies would have been screening me at an earlier age instead of 40.
Mm-hmm.
And by the way, there are 20-year-olds walking around with breast cancer. So that's a whole nother topic on advocacy. But you could get double screens. You could get your breast MRI and then 6 months later get a mammogram. 6 months later, breast MRI. 6 months later, mammogram. Ovarian, they could do screens and they would have got it at stage 0. And it would have been a lumpectomy with radiation. That's the only, because I'm not big on scaring people.
I see
Yeah.
what you're saying.
I don't come from don't watch the news and
Yeah.
it's messed up out there,
So what they do in the event that you have one of these genes is they can screen you early and often.
Double screen, no insurance pays for it. Prostate exams get doubled.
I haven't even had the prostate exam.
I haven't had prostate or the colonoscopy.
I've had the colonoscopy.
Yeah.
I got to figure they could see the prostate through that. They got to go all up your ass. Through that, don't
You
they?
think so? You think so?
I don't know.
It's a whole thing. No.
When we went to see a surgeon in Houston at MD Anderson, and
Yeah, we
he told her, he said, "You have BRCA, you will get cancer in that other."
If you don't do a double mastectomy,
will
I had
get
an
cancer.
80% chance, I
Meaning that
think.
if you have
But-
the BRCA gene,
It's coming.
So, right. Here, listen. And the mastectomy, to my understanding, doesn't mean it won't come back.
That's right. That's right.
Yeah. So do you have the BRCA gene?
I have BRCA2 mutation. And here's how I handled it. I told my family calmly.
So are you on tamoxifen?
No, because I have a liver problem from autoimmune.
So what, you don't take any anti-angiogenesis?
I got my Lupron shot today. My little my ovaries are in like a faux menopause.
Mm-hmm.
And then I can't think of the other medicine, like anastrozole or something. But yeah, I can't do tamoxifen because of my autoimmune. But I told my family, listen, this is not like a scary message. Do with it what you want. I told my Conforti cousins. I told my Mizuchi Murray cousins. I told the Sarah side of because my great grandmother died of breast cancer, and we learned it came from the Sarahs.
Mm-hmm.
My
Well,
naughty
here,
Florance.
My grandfather's sister died of pancreatic cancer.
Okay.
and my grandmother died of pancreatic cancer.
okay.
And dad had prostate cancer.
That's a BRCA2, BRCA1 deal.
And dad had prostate cancer, but the cardiologist told dad his heart will kill him before the prostate cancer
And
did.
it did.
Huh?
And it did.
It did.
Yeah.
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 It's exactly what killed him.
Yeah.
It was his heart. But no Terminies other than Aunt Tina had cancer. They all
Yeah.
died of heart problems.
Yeah.
Okay.
And then my grandma Romano had the BRCA gene. The question is, would it skip generations?
Yes.
Because my mom and my
Yes.
my aunt don't have it.
So my nanny Ange was Sarah, married Magracina. She died of breast cancer and had 3 daughters. My nanny Florance, my aunt Mary Kay Conforti, and my aunt Loretta Mazzucci. None of the 3 girls had breast cancer, ovarian, nothing. Like,
And then it skipped and you have it.
and then my dad was one of 5 boys, and then clearly he had it. And then
What kind of cancer did he have? Refresh my memory.
well, and he had brain cancer. He had glioblastoma.
Is that what your dad had?
Yeah.
Well, that's not BRCA.
No, it's not. So that's even the weird deal.
That's
He
not. That's an
carried it.
anomaly. I think.
In fact, if KU would have did a genetic test on him, then they would have caught mine, but it wasn't related to BRCA. But there are 80 plus genetic mutations out there. I had an eye doctor tell me the other day when he did it, there was only like 30 or 40 at the time. Now there's like 80, and you don't have to do the whole panel. But if you're interested, in something, you can. But it doesn't need to scare people and to go run out and get your genes tested.
I'm hoping that we come to a place in science where you can repair genetic mutations, and I think that we're probably gonna get there. The problem is with us getting there. What else are they gonna do with gene modification?
Well, they will abuse it.
Absolutely.
Sure.
And you have to ask yourself: is doing that, is that playing God?
I'm going to say no. Well, I mean, it depends on how you use it. I think if you
use it as a healing
if you use
technique.
it as a healing technique, then no. But if you use it as I want my son to be 7'2" and be just a brick shit house,
Right.
And be able to jump out of the gym and run a 440, I think then you're probably
Right.
Yeah.
But I'm sure in the uber wealthy communities, genetic modification could possibly be a thing if you got enough money for it. I'm sure you could probably.
Well, they told me something interesting. Like, we don't have kids, but they talked about my ovaries and said if I wanted to save my ovaries before cancer, I could save my eggs, and they could cherry pick out the BRCA mutation in me.
So that your kids don't have it.
Yeah.
And I don't think that there's anything wrong with that.
Yeah.
Personally, I think that if you have an opportunity to choose, why would you? I mean, you're not going to roll the dice. Like I have this opportunity. I know this gene can mutate. Let's go ahead and
Sure.
I don't see like you're playing God there. I think that when you're playing God is when you're trying to use it for your own personal gain in life.
If God gifted somebody with a skill to create something like that, then maybe.
There you are.
And since we're on the topic of God, you mentioned something about God's wings. And I'd like for you to tell us about how the God winks that what that means to you, and how you felt God's winks throughout your journey so far, especially as it pertains to cancer.
Thanks. This is my favorite topic. So when my dad died, I was religious, and I had grandparents pass, and I felt pain. But when my dad died, I was in my 30s, early 30s. And
Young.
yeah. And
Your dad's been gone that long?
I know, it was 2013.
He died right after Dad. Dad died in 2012.
Yeah. We were like, I remember that.
It was, because Dad was August of 2012. When did your dad die?
2 days after his birthday. It was December 10th, 2013.
It was about a year and a half later.
Yeah. Isn't that crazy?
I'll tell you what, just kind of off topic. I loved your dad's disposition.
Aw.
Chilled. Completely chilled out.
Remind me a lot of our dad,
He was
Yeah.
completely laid
just
back.
chill.
Yeah. They just, and like, Tony never got to meet my dad.
Yeah, I never got to.
Oh, he was great.
Kills me.
Great.
He was great.
Like, he was hysterical,
He was.
and he was chill, and he would Like, yeah, he was all of our hero.
He was wonderful.
Thank you for saying that.
Yeah.
We are all in this room blessed with good family.
Yeah.
Yes, we were very fortunate.
We really are. All four of us right
Yep.
here.
Yep.
Strong Italian roots.
Yeah.
Warriors. We'll cuss somebody out and we'll bring you some pasta. And
Yeah.
But that's how family is for me. But so my dad passes and I started he told me before he died, because my dad didn't go to church every Sunday, but he was very like spiritual and into things. And he said to me specifically, because he was dying and we had that closure that you don't always get when it's sudden with people.
Listen, when like that suffering, while it sucks, it does give some closure. I agree.
Yeah, I always feel bad for the person that lingers on, because all of us get to like say what we want to say while they're like dying. But then when someone goes quick, they don't suffer through all these months. But then the people here are like, what was the last thing I said to that person?
Yeah. Well, and you know what?
All the things.
You should. I could pick the phone up, talk to my wife, tell her I love her, forget that I said something, forget to tell her something, pick the phone up, 5 seconds later, call her again, get off the phone, tell her I love her.
Yeah.
You know, and I used to do it with my parents too. Not used to, like when I talk to my mom, tell her I love her.
Yeah.
You know, so I'm very in tune to that. But I've also experienced loss, you know, which is kind of the gift of suffering, right? Because then no one is going to value time like me.
Right.
No one who hasn't experienced loss can value time the way someone who has. That's why some of my friends that spend their whole time like work, fuck that. I'm not doing it.
Yeah.
I'm not doing it.
Where's the Sabbath anymore?
I've done that.
Yeah.
I've done that. I'm not spending my life just work. And I look at pictures of my kids when they were babies. I don't even remember it. You know why? Because I was gone 14 hours a day and I'd come home and I would be so exhausted that I wasn't even barely present. And I'm not doing it.
Yeah.
I'm just not.
Good for you. Tony taught me that.
Yeah.
Before cancer, I was like, go. Do more. Go to the workout. Do this. We got invited to the party. We got to go. Like, go. Like, you know, and he was like, you don't have to go. Like, send something. Or do you want to go to that? Or do you want to like sit back and chill? Like, I'm like, I gotta go to that baby shower from my 5th cousin. So, you know, and I'm like, he's like, you've been running ragged all week. What are you doing?
Yeah.
He
You take
taught me
time
that.
for you.
He's the still one. I'm fast. I gotta do it all.
You also have a lot more respect, probably.
Yeah.
Maybe a little.
And I've gotten to the point, and my mom's like, "You're not going to that wake?" No,
No.
no,
Mom,
I'm not.
I don't even know
what?
them.
Here, I'll tell you what. When I die, they don't have to go either.
They don't gotta come. You know what? Say a prayer for me, and I'll call it good.
Yeah.
I will pray for you. You pray for me. We're good.
I ain't gonna be there.
Yeah.
Right,
I'm not going to my own wake. So
You know,
you ain't got to go.
I ain't gonna be there.
You know?
It's so the pressures and the rules.
Yes.
So many rules.
There's a
in
lot
life.
of traditional structural rules, especially from the Italian heritage.
Well, and you know who you need to show your face at a funeral for, and who you don't.
Yeah.
You
Well,
know.
and if you can't, then you know what to write and send and
I'll
do.
be honest with you. If you don't celebrate with me, you don't need to mourn with me.
That's
Yeah.
great. Yeah.
You know,
Hard, fast rule.
I mean,
Yeah.
that's a hard, fast rule of mine.
Yeah.
If you don't celebrate with me, don't bother coming and mourning with me. I don't give a shit if you're there.
Yeah. Yeah. No, I get it. I get it.
Pete Badalucco has a book of everybody that went to his father's funeral, and he looks to see.
So's my
No, he
family.
doesn't.
What's that?
that's what he
Sebastian
does.
Maniscalco.
Oh yeah, he's
Yeah.
hysterical.
Like that's an old Italian deal, right?
You know
Like,
what? I would have no idea who was at Dad's wake. I remember.
No.
Come on, man, it's just-
It took forever.
Yeah.
The line was all the way out to church.
I mean,
I would
which is
have.
beautiful.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's overwhelming for the family.
yeah,
is.
it was too long.
And the
it's a
2 day,
tribute to Dad and his character, clearly,
Yes.
and people, how much people respected him. But
I wish it would have gone through much faster.
I love now the days that the 2-day deal's done.
Me too.
Yes.
Wake, then the funeral. Yeah, it's exhausting for the family.
Oh my gosh, yes.
It's exhausting.
To
I
get
love
ready twice.
Yeah.
Go stand there
Twice.
twice.
Do the then you got the visitation before the mass, and then it's like another final goodbye, and it's like, let's just really drag this out. Just
no.
say goodbye 14 times.
Yeah.
I love the 1 day
Me too.
wake, funeral,
Yes.
done.
Yep.
For the grieving people.
Sure.
Yes. Sorry. And listen, don't feel guilty if you can't go that 1 day.
Yeah.
There's no guilt here.
Well, yeah, because here, a lot of times it's like on Wednesday at 10.
yeah.
Who can just, I mean, I have to be really close to you to just get away from on a Wednesday at 10.
Right. Right.
You know,
Because that's
and-
you got to cancel patients, and it's a whole thing.
And don't show up because you know the brother of the person, but you don't know the actual person who's laying in the cast. You ain't got to show up.
Yeah.
Or his cousin. You don't have to show up for that.
Right.
I'm being there for the brothers, what they say.
Yeah. Yeah. Right.
Right.
You
I
know.
do that a lot. I'm like, hi, I'm Janet Mancuso's daughter.
Yeah,
And
yeah.
they're like, why are you here? I'm
Yeah.
like,
Yeah.
Because I'm respectful.
I'm
Listen,
respectful.
yeah.
I'm
Remember
respectful.
that when you hear my name. Say it with respect.
Yeah, and half of the time they're zombies. They don't know
I
what's
know,
going
they're
on.
So
Yeah.
tired. We're all so tired.
And then
sitting there.
mom will come up and say, "Well, this is your cousin," and you're like, "Uh huh."
And then the line gets all.
Yeah, I
Mom will do that shit too.
Oh,
Come here, I want to
yeah.
introduce you to this one.
Yeah.
Not now.
Oh yeah, they're
No,
proud of us.
I don't want
They're
to.
proud of us, right?
I'm not good with names. I'm definitely not going to remember your name. I just want to be honest.
And they all call each other. What time are you going to the way?
Yeah.
Look, I'm
Don't-
going at 4.
No, and here, everyone knows it's a pain in the ass because you know what I do? Hey, what time's the wake start? 3. I'm getting there at 2.
Yeah.
I'm going to get there at 2.
Just motor
I'm
through
going
this
to try
line.
and stick and move, see
Yeah.
if I could see who I got to see,
Yeah.
and in and out.
So another mental note: don't call all your friends to find out what time they're going to the wake, so you all can show up at once and overwhelm the family with a influx of people in their
Yeah,
face.
no, I like to try to get there an hour early, and then maybe someone will see you sitting in the back of the church, right? And then they'll come see you,
Yeah,
and then you ain't got to walk through the line.
yeah.
You
You
know
seen it.
what?
Well, I was
You
gonna
were
say,
gonna
how
say
long? Well,
something
then
funny.
how long? But how long do you sit down after you walk through the line?
Never gone.
You're gone. No,
Gone.
sitting down,
Absolutely
5
not.
minutes,
No,
Yeah.
no,
Like a
I don't sit.
ninja.
Are they rolling dice in the bathroom or something?
I'll actually, I will actually sometimes grab my phone like I'm talking to someone as I'm walking out. This way I could wave at someone.
That's perfect.
That's
Yeah.
a great
I know all the
move.
tricks.
Yeah. I'm going to use that
I know
trick.
I'll grab my phone real quick, and I'll do one of these, and then what's going on, and then I'm
Yeah.
gone. You know what I
like
mean?
that.
I mean, I'm like Houdini with them deals.
Yeah.
Because once you shake one hand, you're gonna have
You're
to-
done.
You gotta
You
shake them
know
up.
what
You're
I
done.
love is the people, the women that have the rosary beads and men, and they sit in the crowd and they just calm, like the
Yeah.
older generation.
Mm-hmm.
I do love that. I'm not gonna lie.
Here, Father will walk before every football game. You'll see Father walking the field with his rosary, and it's very tranquil.
Oh,
And I asked Father, I said, you're praying right now. This is the first game of the season. I said, you're praying right now. He said, yeah, I'm praying. Obviously for a win. I said, well, we're playing against a Catholic school, Father. We're playing against Rockhurst. I said, how
how's
are we-
that work?
Yeah, does it still work? And he said, well, I'm still praying for our win. So I'm like, all right,
Yeah.
go.
No,
That's
he
great.
sit there, and you know what? I remember it was last year. The volleyball team was playing Platte County, and Joe Ross, the president of the school, is sitting there in the stands, and I don't even know that he's paying attention to the game. He's looking at the game, but I see him fumbling through the rosary bead, doing the rosary, and it's very tranquil to even see someone else do it.
Mm-hmm.
You know,
Can't
Wait.
you all picture your nanny's hands or
Oh,
your mom's
man.
hands holding the rosary?
Absolutely.
Their nails
Yeah.
and their wedding bands.
I have my father-in-law's rosary
Oh, I love that.
on my arm, and I'm going to tell you, I remember walking because when they spent the night, they'd spend the night in the twins. Well, it was the twins' room at the time, and I walk in there one night, and I'm telling him goodnight, and he's in the dark and he's on his knees, and I'm like, what's wrong? I'm not thinking he's praying.
Right.
Because despite dad being devout Catholic, never missing mass, I don't remember ever seeing him on his knees praying.
I used to see him in the mornings. You were already away at college or something, and he would kneel down in front of the infant Jesus.
Oh, you know
I
what?
love
I
that.
do remember him doing that.
Aw.
Because that gentleman brought that statue. What was his name? It was a beautiful statue of Jesus.
It was,
Oh.
yeah.
It was a beautiful
Where is
statue.
it? Your mom have it?
No. He let my dad borrow it.
Oh,
Yeah.
okay, gotcha.
He let my dad have it when Andrew Ross was sick. And you
Oh,
know what? You're right. He would get there. I do remember that now. It's funny you said that.
core memory.
Yeah, I do remember him doing that. What was his name? He passed away of pancreatic cancer.
Yeah.
Dang.
Super nice guy. Mom's going to call me when she watches it. She's going to send me a text.
Yeah, right.
And she'll know his name. But no, you're right. I do remember him doing that. But anyway, I walk in there and my father-in-law's on his knees and I think something's wrong. And he looks at me like I'm crazy. He goes, what do you mean? What am I doing? I'm like, are you all right? He goes, I'm just saying my prayers. I said, oh, okay. All right. But he had a rosary. And so I got his rosary and I had it put on me.
What did he tell you on holidays? I'm going to feed the poor.
It's what he used to do.
Yeah.
So here, this is a great story. The first time I ever met him and we were sitting at Perkins and it was a booth that you could put 3 people on each side. And my father-in-law's on the very end and Nina was next to me. And then there was me I don't know how the hell I got stuck on the inside of this booth. That's usually a rule of thumb of mine. I don't like doing it. And he's eating and I'm trying to get his attention because I got to go to the bathroom. And so finally Michelle goes, Papa. And he looks up. She goes, Frank's got to go to the bathroom. And he goes, fuck him. And he just kept eating. And I'm like, I like this guy.
You're like, he has boundaries.
I'm like,
He's got good boundaries.
That is my kind of guy.
Yeah, that's
When
who I want to grow
And he
up.
just kept eating and but then as we're leaving, it was probably right around Thanksgiving for whatever reason. And I remember, and they said, come on, Papa, we're going to go shopping. He goes, nope, I'm going to feed the poor. And every Thanksgiving, he got up early and went down and fed the poor. He did it every single holiday.
Wow.
Him and my dad were very different, but very like both De La Salle guys.
Yep.
Both very, very, very strong Catholics.
Yeah.
Very strong Catholics. Now, my father-in-law made way more off-colored jokes than my dad ever would.
Yeah.
That's our family.
But they were both very, very similar.
Yeah, but they
So-
joked about themselves probably too.
Oh, for sure.
Like, we just don't take stuff personal.
No.
So
Love it.
let's circle back to God's winks. I really want to hear more about how
this
this
is what happens when
how
Italians
this
get together.
showed up in the midst of your diagnosis.
So yeah, I knew about God winks from my dad's passing, and then in my diagnosis, it went wild. Like, couldn't make it up. I'd look at the clock. It's 11:11, 222, 333, 444, flashing everywhere I go. I see angel numbers, the Blessed Mother, like my dad told me to look for before he passed. Just like as a sign of grace and forgiveness.
I
And
got to get this picture to you of my son, Andrew, the Blessed Mother, right behind him in a shadow.
I have one in my phone
It's
in the sun the other
unbelievable.
day.
It's
I wanted to send it to
unbelievable.
you guys because it happened the day I talked to you and Michelle when we were on 3-way.
Yeah.
So on the 13th of October.
It's
Are
insane.
you in big numerology?
Oh,
Yeah.
listen. I'm into stars, I'm into planets, I'm into numerology. I am into all of it. Gosh, what are
I'm
like
not
animals?
into astrology.
I
but
don't think of it like it's my like diagnosis and my identity.
But the crazy thing is, when they describe a Scorpio, they describe me to a T.
You should have your birth chart done and see
When
your
the-
moon and your rising.
When they describe a Scorpio,
Yeah.
I mean, it is, other than the fact that they say Scorpios are jealous, I would not classify me as jealous.
Yeah.
I'm territorial.
Yeah, because you're a fire sign.
I'm territorial, but I wouldn't consider myself jealous because I think insecure people are jealous, and I'm the exact opposite of insecure.
Yeah. Well, I'm a recovering insecure.
Yeah.
But no, I have several Scorpio placements in my chart, and my moon, which is your emotion, is an Aries, and that's a fire sign. Watch out. Like,
So you're an Aries.
I'm an Aries.
okay, that's my motion. My sun is Earth. My ascending is Libra. And none of this makes sense to anybody watching, but I love birth charts. And when you really start digging into it, people's features, even kind of, there's like a predominant feature in
They
body.
say the Scorpio is the scariest sign, and like I am I consider myself pretty calm, cool, collected until I'm not.
Yeah.
You
It's
know,
fire.
so
We heat up.
the couples times
Both fire signs.
Yeah.
yeah,
Oh, man.
and then the Libra is the twins are Libras.
That's Gemini. The Libra is the balance scale.
Okay, because they're the but Gemma is, I mean, so like when I read about a Libra,
Oh, you're twins. I'm sorry.
yeah,
I was
my
like, no, the
twins-
symbol. I got you now. I
my
gotcha.
twins are Libras, and Frankie is a Libra to a T.
Okay.
But Gemma, you would think, is a Scorpio on steroids.
Check her other parts in her chart.
Gemma,
Check
you
her
would think,
emotion.
is a Scorpio
Birth
on
charts.
steroids.
Yeah, her birth chart, her moon is probably a fire sign.
Because Michelle was like, I used to kind of be nervous about Frankie, you know, because he's so passive and he's so reserved. And then I'm like, she's like, but Gemma will cut your throat.
Yeah, I'll cut someone's throat.
Gemma will cut. I mean, she will cut
Not
your
really, but
throat
I'll
and
fight for you.
sit down and eat a dish of pasta, and it won't phase her.
Yeah,
Do,
got something.
but she's also the one that is the sweetest.
Yes.
She is the sweetest until do not cross Gemma.
Yep, I'm your daughter and your daughter is me.
Do not piss Gemma off. Look out.
I love it. No, I mean, I think when people are like, oh, I am a Virgo and I am this, and that is my identity. Like, oh, no, but it's really kind of psychological. I mean, when you think about the vastness of the universe and all these, I mean, we could fit 1 million, Earths into Jupiter, and it's pretty wild out there.
Yeah.
And so there are some things.
What
but
other
God
winks besides, so that you did see the Blessed Mother?
So I constantly see the Blessed Mother, constantly see Jesus, and then animals. Like I'll have like an animal like come up to me, or like a butterfly will land on me, and then I look up the metaphysical meaning, or now I just like know that when the Holy Spirit sends something to you, you kind of like, oh, that butterfly represents this family member, or that little animal represents this person. Like the Holy Spirit knows, I believe, like what you can connect to. So it may not be angel numbers. It might be a song. It's a sensory experience. I think God experiences us in sensory.
Hold on. I know people who actually have auditory, hear the Holy Spirit. I think the
Ooh.
Holy Spirit knows I can't handle that.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
I'll be in a mental institution. Right. But I have had God talk to me very, very clearly through other people, through music. And I can think 2 times where he has spoke, 3 times where he has spoke directly to me through music, and 1 time through an email.
Oh, see, okay.
One time.
Your God types to you?
Yeah.
I
don't put them in a box.
All right.
Yeah. No, they mess with electronics.
Okay.
They know. And if you get spooked and think, oh my gosh, the light just went off and that's like a demon, then you're going to have anxiety and panic attacks. But if the light flickers and you think, oh, that's my dad, then you're cool and you breathe and you're like, that was Holy Spirit. Like the mind is bendy.
Perception's reality.
Perception's your reality. And so like, I believe that when you go to someone's house and you taste sauce that tastes like your family's sauce and it makes you think of your grandma, that's Holy Spirit. I believe if you see something like a hat that your grandpa wore or a cane, that's Holy Spirit working on your vision. I think the music, any song I listen to, like sometimes I want sad songs, sometimes I want to be fired up, sometimes I want to be.
You can
pumped
use
up.
music.
Yeah, and that's God. Like these artists wrote these things because they were inspired by something.
Yeah.
And like my mom is a feeler, so she'll like feel my dad, like touch her, and she'll like feel like his presence. And I'm more energy. Like I can feel the energy of it, but it's mostly like, it's like what you make of it. Like it's always working.
Let's speak about, because you have an intuition when it comes to energy. And so as a firefighter, I've walked into a lot of houses and that had a traumatic incident, and I could feel the negative energy of things, as well as you can walk into a house if you've ever been house shopping and say, "This is a great feeling and vibe in here." Same floor plan might go to some different house and be like, "I don't like how this feels."
Mhm.
So when you interact with people in your own life, you feel energy. Do you ever feel compelled to like say, "I feel this," just so, and tell someone, "I need to tell you this"?
All the time.
Yeah.
In fact, I have to like stop because it creeps people out.
Someone who's not spiritually discerned, it will.
Yeah, I
Or
got
they're going to
How
think you're.
about the husband that's
Yeah.
sitting here listening to us
and these people are like
all day?
pouring their heart to me. And it's funny because like when we go shopping, I don't say I'm a therapist
Yeah.
and I'm into God. But what happens when we're out? Like people just start telling me their life story
Yeah,
or
it just
talking to me and like
it's-
touching me and like he's like,
yeah, it's a there's a strange sort of energetic vibe that people feel from you where they want to talk to you and they want to get therapy from you and they want to know what's wrong with them and somehow you know what's wrong with them even though you've never met them.
Well,
kind of spooky.
here, if you're not spiritually discerned, it will. They're either going to think you're crazy,
Uh-huh.
you know.
And I am a little. It's okay.
Well, I mean, it here, not for nothing, but I don't know. I feel like I'm spiritually discerned enough that I would receive it.
Yeah.
I actually really enjoy the people, and anybody out there that has that kind of spiritual discernment, and feels the energy. If they have something that is associated with me, I'm all ears.
Here,
Tell me what you
Yeah.
got.
they're
DM
every
me.
single
Mhm.
time. Every single time. I mean, you've become friends with some of the people at the Rock. I have become friends with some of the
Yeah, absolutely, yeah.
and the head pastor, someone who I consider a friend of mine, and every single time that man has picked the phone up and said, "Hey, you were on my heart today. I don't know why, but I just felt like I needed to call you and see what's up." Every time I was going through some shit.
Yeah, he
Mhm.
does have.
Every single time it was a time where he was the type of
Mm.
person that I needed to talk to.
Mm.
It never failed.
That's
Yeah.
beautiful. That's
And
Holy
I bet
Spirit.
he's done it like 4 times to me.
Yeah, that's that quiet intuition.
You know the way I think I try to be with the Holy Spirit? You ever have maybe it's a leaky faucet. It's not loud, but you can hear that drop every single time, always. And then no matter how loud things get around you, the only thing you can hear is that freaking drop.
Mhm.
That is how I like to be with the Holy Spirit.
I love it.
No matter how loud everything gets, I want to be able to hear that whisper.
I love that.
Which begs the question when you're listening to the Holy Spirit and you're feeling that energy and you feel like compelled to say something to someone, how do you discern from it being an energy feeling that you need to say to someone and your ego speaking, like because you come from a place where you mentioned the heart head balance
Mhm.
and the ego. And so how do you come to a place to where you're like, okay, I feel this and I need to say it and it's not coming from my ego?
Yeah, that's a great question. When I'm with my clients, I always ask them in the very beginning, what's your background? Like how was your life growing up? Like do you know about how your mom was during pregnancy? What's your spiritual background? Like I need ancestral trauma. I want stories like
Yeah.
so when I'm in session,
And
I
everyone
know
has ancestral trauma.
we all come from one source and then that source has a million different
I mean,
Yeah.
I have learned through the lady who kind of started a class at the Rock called Discover Freedom. I actually should put her on this damn podcast. I don't know why I haven't.
Yeah.
But
I've been through it a couple times.
one of the
It's very good.
things let me see what this is called and I'll tell you. But one of the things that they've talked about is trauma, devil, lie. Always.
Yeah.
There's always some type of a lie that is injected into trauma
Mm-hmm.
that you will either recognize it which I never did until I was spiritually discerned,
Mm-hmm.
right? Because
Now
now,
plus 40 years old.
so now whenever like something like that, like when Nina died, I was able to say, okay, where's this lie at, devil? Let me and you know what I mean. What are you trying to implant here? What are you going to implant? He did it with my
Yes.
kids.
Mm-hmm.
He's done it with my kids.
Yep.
But I can guide them to break it.
Mm-hmm.
But you know, I've seen him do it with my kids.
Yeah.
And especially Frankie George, because Frankie George struggles from pretty bad anxiety now because of it.
Yeah.
And when he was struggling one time, he was kind of in tears. He goes, "What do you think?" He goes, "What do you want me to do? Call Jesus?" And he said it kind of tongue in cheek, kind of like that's really going to work, Dad. And I'm like, buddy, I'm sorry, but that's the only thing that's going to help you right now.
Yeah. Oh my gosh, I have so much to say about all of that.
You know, that is the only thing that's going to help
That's
you right
right.
now. You know,
So
because he kind of lives his life right now just waiting for the next bad thing to happen, which in my opinion is a generational curse in the Terminies. Aunt Carol lived that way. Dad lived that way. I recognize it, so I fight it.
It skipped me.
mhm.
But
It skipped me.
who was
That's a
worse than Dad and
blessing.
Aunt Carol?
Yeah, nobody.
Nobody. Aunt Carol was worse than Dad.
I was the source of their nervousness.
Yeah.
Oh my God.
Listen,
and-
you were living on the edge.
Yeah, I was.
So you were fearless.
Yes, I was.
You know,
No fear.
people that live on the edge, like,
Yeah, I had to walk to the edge to find out, you know, and look over it and just
yeah.
1 foot
There's-
over it, you know.
There's
just
three
kinda,
kind of kids. There's
Yep.
the kid climbing the tree and jumping off the building. There's the kid sitting inside on his phone or, you know, just some cozy blanket. And then there's the third kid that's the middle of both.
Yeah,
You're jumping off the cliff.
I'm jumping off. I'm racing.
I was in the middle.
I'm the middle.
Yeah, I would cautiously go to the cliff.
Yeah, me too.
With way more cautious than
I
him.
saw
I
my
would try to
brother go
convince
to the
him.
cliff.
Come on, let's go
Yeah,
to the cliff.
That
No,
was
I ain't
Jimmy
going.
and Jay.
Yeah.
Yeah, Jimmy's not going to the cliff.
No.
Jay's going to the cliff, and I'm in the middle.
Jimmy's like, go to the cliff. Tell me how it is.
Yeah. So Jay and I came back, and yeah.
I want to know all about it, but just go ahead and go. Just I want to hear the stories
Shut
about it.
up for me, make sure.
Yeah.
Oh, I love it. And both my parents were neither. They
But
were.
I
They were
want
Jimmy.
to break that generational curse. And here, I can't help that they experienced trauma.
Mhm.
You know what I mean? That's not, I can't, like, that's when you realize that as a father that you can't protect your kids, because you can't. That's a figment of your imagination. I mean,
Right.
you can to a point. But I mean, by the time they're 16, they're out in the car. How are you going to protect them?
Yeah.
You can't control their decisions.
Nope.
You know, and how many things did we do that we were told not to?
Yeah. We all were like, oh my gosh, what?
Right.
How do we all come out of that?
Well, God.
Yeah, it wasn't in the cards. We were supposed to still be here, but yeah. So I do a lot of EMDR at work, and I bring spirituality into that. So like we're processing like a negative belief, which the negative belief could be so simple. It could be an old wise tale of money is the root of all evil. So they
Mhm.
don't believe in abundance. They don't believe. You know what I'm saying?
I have a tattoo on my hand. It's a rose with the skull in it, and it's with a dollar sign for the nose. I sent you that, Frank, because it's a list of questions that I made for this. So
Got it.
And is the money is the root of all evil, and
It's the ego.
yeah, I mean it's
The ego is.
yeah. The ego is the root of all evil, not money.
The ego is.
Okay.
Which is
The
pride.
ego is. It's pride. So if you believe, if you think that God isn't of abundance in this vast universe,
No, I do think God is of abundance, but I feel like people who strive for nothing but money,
that's evil.
it's rooted in evil,
That's pride.
and that's kind
Well,
of
that's the
Right.
difference between having money and money having you.
Yes.
right.
Yes.
Right.
I mean,
Yeah.
because I know families that have tons and tons of billions of dollars, and they're the sweetest family in the world, the most humble
Absolutely.
family in the
If-
world.
If money is
and
your
they don't give a shit about that money.
Yeah.
if money is your source of power and is your source of confidence, it's
Mhm.
It's evil.
it's rooted in evil. Now,
That's
people
right.
who have money aren't inherently evil because God blesses those who bless others.
yeah.
Yes.
You know,
You got it.
So that's
You got it.
And there's
Or-
plenty of people who bless others, but they're not doing it to bless others. They're doing it to say, "Look at this.
Uh-huh,
Yes.
There's the
Look at-
difference.
Look at,
That's-
look at this check I'm writing.
yes.
Yeah.
Everyone, look at this. And I know people who won't give unless they can give under those circumstances.
Yes.
Which, you know what? Fine. I don't care. You know, well, I'll take it any way I can get it.
Pastor Phillips speaks about the godly handshake of a guy who wants to donate, and he'll shake his hand with the check in it, but he doesn't want anybody to know about it.
Right.
Yeah. Yeah. That's like I was saying earlier, that's the person that doesn't need the thank you card. They're just generous in spirit.
Yes.
And they
here-
drop the food off and sneak out. Like that's
He-
abundance.
Here,
that's
that's
generosity.
with the
That's
Andrew Rush.
the Cascones for by the way. That
100%.
that-
Uncle Larry was king
Uncle
of that.
Larry, Johnny George is,
Yeah.
is like, and so Tommy, it's like they just show up with food.
Yeah.
You know,
Mhm.
every single time. It's like
one of the most generous families ever.
100%.
Yeah.
One of the most generous families ever.
Yeah.
But I've had people who we say here we're going to have this sponsor and this sponsor has this recognition and this sponsor has that recognition, and I could think of 2 people that called me and said, hey, we want to sponsor this level, but we want to avoid it, or we want to forfeit any recognition.
Yeah.
Mhm.
You know, and I'm
Mhm.
like, wow,
Yeah. And the sponsorship is usually probably pretty significant.
Yeah.
it's over $5,000.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And they don't want to be
They want
acknowledged.
to avoid any recognition.
Yeah.
Well, and back to speaking of negative beliefs of the ego, sometimes it's I'm not good enough. And I know I struggled with that even though my parents were solid,
Mm-hmm.
I got exposed to things outside of the house that was like, I'm questioning myself.
Here, Dr. John said this to me one time because he's someone that I really like talking to because he's number one, he's and Doc Cicero too, who's actually been on this podcast, and I want to get Doc John on there too.
Oh yeah, I'd love it. I'd love it.
It'd be a great,
Absolutely.
but Dr. John made this comment to me. He said, the person who walks into the room and thinks everyone is looking at them because they look so good, and the person who walks into the room and thinks everyone's staring at them because they look so bad. So the one who's hyper secure and the one who's hyper insecure really suffer from the exact same sin,
You got it.
and that they both think everything's about them.
You got it. You got it. I didn't get that till later in life.
And you know, when he said that, I was like, wow.
Yeah. Right? We're a mirror universe.
It's
When people fight about stuff, I'm like, gosh, this sounds like the same story, but a different narrative. Like the same characters, the same negative belief, the same thing. Like we're fighting all the time.
yeah, and ultimately, it's pride on both ends.
Yeah. It's
Mhm.
It's
one and
all
the
about
same.
you.
Yeah.
It's pride on both ends.
Yeah.
I-
And
that's
even
why
if it doesn't,
those-
even if you look like you're the innocent one that's a victim
It's
because
pride.
you're insecure, there's still
That's
there's
why
still-
pride is the deadliest of all of them.
I agree.
It's the sneakiest of all of them.
So sneaky.
It's so you could think you're being and focus so hard on being humble and unconsciously seep into pride.
100%.
It's
yeah.
and I'm the worst.
Oh, me too. Every other day, I'm like, we're like getting into something, or I'm getting into something, and I'm like, oh, I got it all figured out. Nope.
No.
Yeah.
Some situation checks me real quick, and now I'm like, oh, yeah.
You ought to listen. You ever
Every time I think I've got it all figured out, it's like,
Boom.
yep.
have you ever listened to Stephen Furtick?
Nope.
Stephen Furtick's one of my favorite pastors. Have you ever listened to him?
I'm the one who introduced you to Stephen.
Did
Furtick.
you? Okay, so there you go.
Yeah.
So anyway,
Brothers.
Yeah.
Stephen Furtick did a
That's my pride taking
Ownership.
credit.
ownership of that.
Yeah.
So
No,
Stephen
I
Furtick
like
does
it.
a
I like
sermon
it. There's a balance.
Yes.
Right.
Yeah.
on
Ego is good.
pride and anxiety.
Yeah.
And he said, spell pride. What is the letter directly in the center of the word pride?
I.
What's the letter directly in the center of the word anxiety? So
Me. I.
pride and anxiety are a package deal.
So
He said, if you get anxious, it's probably because you're trying to control things that you can't control, and you cannot sustain it because you're not the one on the throne.
let me go deeper. What's the root of anxiety?
I would say pride.
Fear.
All right.
Fear.
Well,
Fear is the root.
okay.
There's 4 parts to the ego
Let's hear
in
it.
my mind.
Let's go. Let's hear
Okay.
it.
Sadness.
Sadness is part of the ego.
I believe it is. I made up a theory.
Go ahead. Let's hear it.
This is what I use with my clients.
Okay.
So we're head and heart. God made us this way with love and light, which is love and joy, right? And then we have these 4 emotions for a reason. We have sadness, fear, anger, and disgust. Disney should have called me because they made Pride and Envy.
How great was that movie, though?
It is great, but
What movie we're speaking to?
Inside Out.
Inside Out.
I've never
Oh
seen it.
my
It's
God,
cute.
it's
It's
awesome.
so
You
cute.
should- I learned a lot.
But anxiety is a
I'll
main
take a look at it.
character instead of
And the
birthing
second
from
one.
fear. Yes. So, okay. If you're in alignment with your head and your heart, and you look at your ego, those, because that to me, those are the four like emotions that get us tripped up with our
Mhm.
ego. If you face your ego and get in love and light with those elements, you move through your emotions better. So sadness hits and you're like, you know what? I'm going to cry. I'm going to cry because it was a beautiful moment or it was a sad moment. But if you repress that, you get depressed. And then the second hit, when your heart hurts, we go right up to our head and here comes fear. The heart's hurt. 911, what do we do? If we don't move through fear quickly and understand and acknowledge that fear is a given thing that God made us with, we have anxiety, or it's an inner panic attack, or we're telling everybody, watch out, don't do this, don't do that. Oh, we're going to be late. This is me. We're going to be late. We're going to be late. We're going to be late. We got to go. We got to go. And then the third is anger. That's our power. If we stay in alignment, fire is good. Anger is good. Anger is healthy because it's you speak or you punch or you kick if you're that active kid. And, you got to feel your feelings if you're in alignment.
What would you say to someone who said there's really only two emotions and there's everything else is a subsidiary? You have love and fear.
I think disgust is the boundary. I think that we say, I'm going to throw up enough broccoli or that food is sour. We need disgust. It sets boundaries. It keeps us safe. Like I'm overworked.
Okay.
I'm going to have a Sabbath. I'm going to say I'm not going to go to the thing.
Okay.
I'm going to chill. And when we honor things with our head and our heart, we honor it. And but when we don't honor it, we clip people out of our lives who we love.
Mm-hmm.
We go in and out of relationships. Now, we all need a timeout, but I'm talking permanent. Like, I regret ending that. I maybe shouldn't have did that. Or I'm going to kill myself. Or I'm going to, sometimes I think, develop illness. Or you resent and you hold things in. And, you should move through your feelings.
Do you believe that negative emotion that's not released manifests in illness?
100%.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean,
not necessarily illness, but definitely it can be illness or it's physical pain.
Yeah, because and it's like I've been doing a lot of breath work lately. So if anybody's listening and they're into like breath work and metaphysical and the body, I'd love to talk to them because I'm starting to melt and breathe. And when I cry, when I'm sad, I cry.
Mm-hmm.
And when I'm anxious, I tell people I'm scared or I change my thought pattern. And if I'm angry, I speak on it.
Versus holding it in.
And when we hold it in, I think it gets the left more because we're too passive. And when we vent and complain a lot, I think it gets our right side. But it's not having a boundary. It's not saying, fuck him, I'm not getting out of this bench.
Yeah.
He's got to pee, I'm sitting here. Like,
Yeah.
it doesn't have to be that abrasive and abrupt. But it should be like, you know what? This day is for my family. And I'm not going to the 5-year-old soccer game on Mother's Day and Father's Day. Like, or maybe we are, but like, let's all get in our heart's truth and figure out what we want to do.
Yeah.
And not do all these things and run ourselves ragged. It's so fast.
What's so weird is like you speaking about crying is every time my wife Caitlin would cry and I got through this, but it would make me angry.
Yeah.
Because I was pissed off that she was sad.
Hold on.
Yeah.
Andrew.
Tony feels that.
Let me tell you
And
something.
it's so weird to me.
And
Oh,
I've
yeah.
said this. I don't know if I've said this on this podcast, but the sound of a mother losing a child is the most horrific sound that I can that's embedded in my ear.
Yeah.
And mom finding out about Andrew Ross's diagnosis,
Mm-hmm.
Carrie and mom's response to Andrew Ross's actual passing,
Mm-hmm.
Michelle calling me, informing me about Nina, and I was on the phone with Joe John, and her Diane's response to giant aunt's son.
Yeah.
Those are 4 times I can tell you that I've heard that response. And all 4 times I was boiling
Yeah.
with anger. Boiling with anger.
Yeah.
When you hear that sound,
Yeah.
I don't know what it is about it, but you want to put your motherfucking head through a wall.
Yeah. You're just
Yeah.
so
You want to put your head through a wall and knock yourself out. I think about it now and I'm getting aggravated.
Yeah.
yeah.
I mean,
That's-
so it's something you're
Yeah.
on to something.
You
there.
are because
You're-
this world is corrupt. Like God's
It's fallen.
universe is fallen, but I think it happened before Adam and Eve. I think it happened clearly. You got to throw Lucifer down here. There's a war beyond this universe.
It's spiritual and it's ongoing.
spiritual. And so if we all come from one, God, I think God is such a freaking genius. I think he is such a genius that he said, you know what? I'm going to be like a freaking, what's it called? Like a Marine. Like we're going to get inside the enemy.
Yeah.
And I'm making my kids like we're warriors. Like I think some of us are healers, some of us are warriors. Like when men rise up like that to protect because you're pissed about this fallen world and all the jacked up things that happen, I think God, it's like a filter system of like, I'm going to mix love and light with chaos.
Yeah.
All these other ancient things, they got like the yin yang with the dark and the light and the mix. Like we're mixed up intentionally with chaos.
Yeah.
And I think that there's a bigger story going down.
The big story is this. And Louis Giglio, his book Goliath Must Fall is a must read. Or I don't read, I listen.
I'm a listener too.
I listen. But his whole thing is you have to conquer your giants
Yes.
because God gets the glory.
God
It has
gets
nothing to do
glory.
with you.
It's something bigger.
It has nothing to do with you. So he puts you into this chaos and suffering, right? Because he trusts you with it, because he said, my daughter Florence, she's going to bring it and glorify me through it.
Yeah.
My son Tony, my son Andrew, my son Frank,
Mhm.
he's going to use the suffering and he's going to glorify me with it.
Well, I also believe that's the only way you can move forward in life is by putting yourself in an uncomfortable position.
You have to.
Yeah.
Well, and sometimes you put yourself in the uncomfortable position, but sometimes you're thrown into it.
100%.
Yeah.
Yeah, and that's
How do you react to that?
right.
Do you run away or do you face it? And I think that's how people keep failing in life is they keep hitting that little, whatever it is, rock in the middle of the road, and they just stop. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Instead of saying, hey, I'm going to keep running myself into this. I know eventually I can get through it.
Sure.
You know what
This
I
is
mean?
Yeah.
happening
This
for
is very
me.
uncomfortable for me, and I'm getting the shit kicked out of me. But
Literally.
unfortunately, I have to continue to, like Jesus took it, you know what I mean, and keep my mouth shut and move forward. That's just the way life is. I think that's how you-
And that's why he's our guide. He's the one who we have to look at as an example. And it's hard. I'm not saying it's easy. And there's times where you're just like, I don't want to, fuck this.
100%.
I don't want to. And there's times where you're like, you know what, God, I'm fucking pissed and I don't want to talk to you.
Yeah,
I mean,
Yeah, and
I've
that's
had that.
okay,
you
because
know?
God, the God I know,
But then you end up
is love.
unconsciously, you're still talking to them because you're still going, you know what, God, this is
Right?
bullshit,
Exactly.
and I don't deserve this, and this isn't fair, and fuck this, and
It's the kid saying, I hate you, and running in their room.
right,
The parent still loves the kid.
Yeah.
right.
And it takes that sometimes to get you through fear. That
Sure.
you know what I mean? It takes the anger sometimes can get you through fear.
Hold on, I
Yeah.
respond to fear with anger.
Me too.
Me
Yeah.
too. Because
If you see me get mad,
Yeah.
it's probably because I'm scared.
Yeah. He's no, that's exactly
No, that's-
100%.
Here, every single time I ever got mad and got in a fight, like whether we were in a bar or whatever, because you know me, I never ever started any fights.
No, we just finished him.
But
Yes,
anytime I ever got in a fight, I
yes.
could tell you I was scared. Every
Yes.
single, and it was my fear that drove me to act.
Yes,
Sure.
that's why you get pissed when the mom cries.
Yeah, right. Yeah.
Because you're like, something's got to be done.
You know,
Like I'm rising up. It's
Yeah.
an action. Anger is action.
Yeah.
So you got sadness, fear, action. So the heart, then the mind, then the action, and then the boundary. You got to go through those 4 when you're in Christ conscious and Christ heart. And listen, I'm a therapist and I look crazy every other day because it's a dance of getting out of, I think of an atom, and like an atom is moving, like that element, the element that we're made of. Like, I think that's how it looks. I think it like crosses this way and then it like crosses here. And then like when we're centered, we got it. But who can stay centered all the time?
Right.
Like we always joke, we're like, gosh, if you're single and you're the man living in the mountain on, with his beard, or the woman in the drinking her tea on the mountain, like I always say I want to go do, I have no relationship. I can find a lot of zen and yin and inner peace.
Yeah.
But I want people. And I want my microphone to work.
Yeah.
We
do too.
I want people in my life. I'm a hand talker.
Yeah, that's okay.
I want people in my life. And so I can't always be, So we're always talking about this kind of stuff.
Well, and it's kind of interesting that, the guy on the hill that's by himself is the one that, can, is closer to God
and guides
or
us
has
in
more
relation.
knowledge or whatever. But it doesn't have to be that way. You know what I'm saying? I don't think you have to isolate yourself in a sense.
No, matter of fact, you aren't wired for it.
Oh.
Well,
You're wired for connection.
I'll say this: there's something to the isolation, and that's why Jesus went off to pray in silence by himself.
There's a time for it.
I did that
You're
when
not
I
supposed to
faced my
sit
ego.
there.
That's what I did.
I agree with that, Andrew.
I did.
There is a time for it. Yes.
Yeah.
100%.
In fact, like I did that. Like I told him, I was like, I did some weird stuff after cancer, but I said, I'm going to go face my ego.
Yeah.
And I'm going to go through the 4 feelings with love and light. And it got dark.
Yeah.
Here, have you ever watched the movie The Shack?
Uh-uh.
Go home tonight and watch the movie The Shack.
Okay.
Go home and watch, because in light of what you were saying about God being man and woman, in the movie The Shack, there's go home and watch the movie.
I think God has a mom and a dad. I think God is a man. I think the creator of our universe is a man. But I have a feeling that I think of family systems, right? When I meet a client, I do a genogram. And who's your mom? Who's your mom? And then I think about when I meet people, what's your backstory? That's the first question you ask when people come on here. What's your backstory? Who's your ancestors? Do some DNA. Do 23andMe, do Ancestry.com, talk to people in your family and learn the negative beliefs that people came here with and the positive, and face things, because you could do a lot of therapy work, but there's something negative in you that came from who knows where.
There's no telling.
Yeah. So I think God has a mom and dad. And
So you watch The Shack. Hold on. You're going to change. You'll change
I'll
your
change
perspective.
it. Okay.
Because he is the mom and the dad.
Ooh, okay.
And when you watch The Shack,
okay.
Now I'm going to say something. It is like I was Julia Roberts' ugly girl crying.
Okay.
And I mean, and I'm a big baby. But this,
I love that men are babies.
I'm terrible.
Love it.
I'm terrible.
Be real.
Like I was like, Michelle fell asleep in the movie, and I am hiding it. Like I don't want to wake her up because I was. But
it's
you'll
like
see.
A painful.
It is.
The
Have you ever
Shack.
seen it?
I just wrote it down so I could go watch
home
it.
tonight and watch The Shack. It is a movie that everyone should see.
Great.
Everyone should see that movie. What a perspective changer. What an eye opener. And oh my God. Yeah,
I love it.
You need to watch it.
Okay.
So
I'm into this.
Florance, you speak about things like energy, metaphysics, numerology, and a lot of
Christians would say you shouldn't be thinking that way.
Well,
That's right.
and a lot of the probably things that you learned in school as you became a therapist that may not have spoke about those things. How do you implement those into treatment? And is that frowned upon to speak about the things that might be considered fringe science?
Yeah. Well, I wouldn't do. So when I meet a client, I know
Because
their
I believe in all
zodiacs.
that stuff, just for the record.
Oh, I know that about you.
Yeah.
I wouldn't like tell my client like, oh, let's do your birth chart, because I know a lot about a lot of things, but I'm an expert of very few.
Yeah.
And so I just know, okay, that's interesting. They're in Aries or they're this. And I just kind of keep it in my back pocket.
Mm-hmm.
family and friends know that I get into it and I'll wear people out a little bit, but I'm like, you should go do your birth chart. Like,
Yeah.
it's really interesting. And I have the app that shows the zodiacs in the sky, and like I've gotten really woo woo with it. But for me, it's a feeling like if I'm with somebody in session and we're doing like so and so died
Mm-hmm.
and we're doing EMDR around the death of somebody.
EMDR is
Oh, sorry. That stands for eye movement desensitization reprocessing.
okay.
So, speaking of the right and left, we have two hemispheres in our brain that the corpus callosum separates. So, we have our right brain, which is our emotion and our feminine and our creativity,
Mm-hmm.
and it's all the feels. And then we have the right brain, which is action. Let's go. The left brain, which is action. Let's go. Like, think about it. Don't feel it.
So I'm left brain dominant.
And I'm right brain dominant. Yeah. So, but we all have masculine, feminine, or right and left brain, no matter our gender. We just do. And so, when somebody gets a stroke, it crosses the body.
Yeah.
If it's
Right
on-
brain, left side goes dead. Left side, right side goes
You
dead.
got it. When you do EMDR, you could use your eyes to move, and they have light bars, or a therapist will go like this. You're not getting hypnotized, or you hold buzzies, we call them, or tappers,
Mm-hmm.
and it buzzes like a cell phone, right, left, right, left, right, left. And you work through a negative belief. I use it with self-esteem. I use it with trauma. A woman named Francine Shapiro invented it when she was on a walk because she noticed she was looking around and moving her body right, left, and processing things different.
Mm-hmm.
You need, speaking of head and heart, in order to get through something, you need your head and your heart, your two hemispheres, to go through the emotion. The only way out is through. And so sometimes they're crying and they're blocked and they don't want to cry. And I'm like, let's just pause and breathe. Like, I just do weird things in session that aren't like from the book.
Yeah.
I'm like, let's do some breath work on our stomach. I want you to feel this. And then I'll get weird. And I tell them I'm weird up front. And I'll say, I feel so and so just told me to, like, and I'll go in my playroom and grab something. I'll be like, does this mean anything to you?
So when you're saying negative emotion, it could be a negative recurring thought.
Yeah, like I'm not good enough.
Or
I can't handle this. I'm responsible for everything. Doesn't have to be I can't, trust God, or I can't trust myself. Like,
people hold on to these negative mantras that they just continuously.
It's a mantra, like a prayer. Like when our moms do the rosary, they're so the way the brain works is your conscious is the giver and the subconscious is the receiver. So when you do subliminal messages, you got to do it over and over and over, because affirmation, prayers, some of these religions, they do the rosary a bunch of times, or they're like that, in these other countries, it's like repetition. And I know that some Christians are like, it says in the Bible, don't do that. But that's actually how psychology, it's like you have to constantly affirm, I am good enough.
Yeah.
I am good enough. And I used to say, before I got more secure, I'd be like, oh, don't listen to certain things on the radio because that gets in your head. When I faced my ego and in the dark, dark, dark of it, the light and the dark of it, I'm like, God is love and light. Like, I can sing the song and it means nothing. God is not offended.
Do you believe, speaking of the subliminal, do you believe that, and we spoke about spiritual warfare of, the light and the dark, speaking of subliminal, do you believe that people today are being inundated by subliminal messages in order to manipulate them?
Sure.
Yeah. Yeah.
And is that ingrained into social media?
Oh, so weird thing. The other day, a friend of mine, I said, type in the metaphysical meaning of a ladybug. And her phone said like happy summer vibes, protection, luck. Mine went into the divine feminine, the grandmother, because it knows I'm like on my phone doing spiritual stuff.
Yeah.
And I go, okay, AI, I see you.
Yeah.
I see you. And like people that watch the news, it's fear inducing for some. And some watch the same episode and say, I feel like I'm a little safer knowing what's going on. I just want to know what's going on. I can't watch the news. I'm not that person, because then I'm like, oh, this world's terrible. But it is getting better. I got to say. We are more accepting of things now.
I just believe that the news is designed to be, well, it's designed to captivate attention because we're in an attention economy.
Yeah.
And there's two things that are now a currency for social media and the tech conglomerates, which one is your attention, the other is your data.
Yeah.
And they're trying to capture those all the time. And I think being aware, conscious and aware, and knowing that that's happening to you allows you to navigate all of the bullshit that they're trying to feed you.
Do you know what that is?
What's that?
Holy Spirit versus the enemy. They work the same. They know how to sneak.
The problem I see with it is young minds that aren't developed, that get exposed to, when you can't recognize the product of Facebook, then you are the product.
Yeah.
You actually are the product. So children and the undeveloped mind are easily manipulated. Like I'll call us pretty much all, even though we're technically not millennials, but those who were exposed to the analog world.
We're Gen X's.
And well, I'm on the cusp.
Me too.
So it's I'm a zillennial, so to speak. I was exposed to and remember the analog world, but I'm also navigating the digital world.
I am not navigating it well.
I know.
Yeah.
Tony and you are the heroes in the tech world, right? We established that already.
Well,
Yeah.
I think, Andrew, I think you're onto something. I think this is exactly what they want. They want your attention.
They want your attention.
And now they have everybody's attention.
They got
And they're engagement farming.
Pretty much whatever they want to make.
Well, and
which is what they do, and it's only going to get worse. I mean, I think there's going to be cameras on every corner here in the next 10, 15 years.
100%.
It's all coming to the Big Brother thing where they're going to be. They already know where you're going.
Here in 10 years,
they know what you're doing. They know what you're buying. They're going to know where you are at every.
Here, our kids are going to be able to get on their phone and not only see where their kids are at, but exactly what they're doing and have eyes on them.
Yeah.
No matter where they're at.
Here, I'm going to tell you, this is something that's kind of along the same lines, but a lot of people haven't been exposed to it yet. And it's a movement that's very underground right now, but it's slowly coming out of a fringe financial topic, which is cryptocurrency. And there was a guy by the name of Murad, and he's saying how these cryptocurrencies and let's say meme coins, we'll say that they're actually forming cults and they're becoming religions, and these people are throwing their money into them in blind faith that they think that they're going to be the next big thing and they're going to make all this money. And there's this person who's the spokesperson for this project, and what they're essentially doing is forming a cult of followers.
They're extracting resources and promising you something.
Well, yeah, it's the hope, and they're saying that they're trying to develop a new form of religion. And I'll send you the talk that this guy had. It's so out there, but I can see what they're trying to do now. It's coming through Twitter or X. And for those who are in the cryptocurrency market, they know it's called CT Crypto Twitter.
Right.
And they're just engagement farming, latching on to people, promising this. They're the leader. It's a subcult, and it becomes a religion. And nothing more that I can see from it that says, and there's actually now AI bots that are leading these subcults of people. And people are hanging on their every word.
It's absurd.
But Frank, when I tell you it's growing exponentially. A bot gets 350,000 followers in one day.
Whoa.
And it every 4 hours regurgitates something that's deep, spiritually deep, tied to a potential financial gain. And so today, actually, because I'm an investor, I do trading. I'm back talking this bot who's made this this AI has made this thing like it's a trinity. And I'm back talking to him saying, you're not a religion. You're not a cult. You're not a leader. 2 hours later, this fucking thing blocked me.
Oh.
And I'm like,
They
this
just had an algorithm that knew to block you.
Yeah.
it's a language model that knows that I'm trying to push back against what it's doing, and so it blocked me.
Yeah.
That's sad.
And what it's called, you guys will hear about it. It's called Genon. What this bot,
Genon. I feel like I have heard
this bot is literally engagement forming and grabbing people and putting them into this subset and speaking to them on a regular basis to engagement farm them. And a lot of people don't even know that it's a bot. They think it's a real person.
Yeah, and they're looking for connection.
Yeah.
Well, here, I want to go. Were you going to say
I
something?
was just going to think that the future is also going towards everybody wants people to be in their houses all the time. Less resources used.
Yeah.
There's going to be, way too many people here. Nobody really wants to work anymore. Stay home. We can take care of you for less money. I do think that there's a huge movement to keep people inside.
I think COVID might have been orchestrated to
Well, they wanted to see how we were going to respond.
to further along that movement. Because if you think about it, the financial system and social media engagement skyrocketed when everybody was in lockdown.
Well, you also got to think, like, look what the government gives. The government is always going to give you something that will keep you under their thumb.
Yes.
And what you're talking about is they want everyone under their thumb.
Well, that's always their goal, right?
Right.
They want control. Once you have all the money in the world, what is it about?
Well, think
Power.
about the school system alone. The things that they're learning in schools.
That's why my kids go to Catholic school.
Well, and it's like, oh, somebody comes in and does mindfulness for a few seconds and leaves. Like, nobody's talking about ego and Christ consciousness and faith and how to have discernment.
They borderline don't talk about it in the damn Catholic school.
I know.
They're too busy trying to make you remember the Pentateuch and regurgitate that.
So
give me the first 5 books of the Bible as opposed to what do they say in those books?
Yeah.
Let's talk about that.
Let's talk about how to apply a negative belief versus a positive belief. Let's talk about how when some kid bullies you, that says more about that kid than it does you. But if you are affected that night by what that kid said, we need to look at within ourselves.
Yeah.
Because it's one thing, I always give an example. If somebody came up to me and said my shirt was pink, I am not colorblind. I know it's purple.
Mm-hmm.
But if I was insecure about my color vision, I'd go,
this shirt?
Is it? I thought I had a purple shirt on today. And then I'd be like, oh, I'm kind of dumb. But if I knew that it was purple and they said, nice pink shirt, I look at them, like, what's wrong with her?
Right.
Not in a condescending
thing.
way. Not right. I'd just be like, she's colorblind.
Well, here, we're going on 2 hours.
Oh,
and
my gosh.
I think we could
I
talk to
didn't even finish.
Florance and Tony forever.
We could.
Yeah.
But I do want to ask one more question.
And I want to say something about breast cancer too.
Okay, so you do that. We'll do that at the end. But I want you to answer one more question. How have you got yourself to a place of, how do I want to say this? You're comfortable no matter what happens.
My fate. I mean,
But
straight up.
but okay, I know that's how you get there.
Oh.
But can you say that, you know what? If it comes back, so be it.
Yes.
I'm going to live my life and I'm not going to sit there and worry about it.
Yes. Yes. In fact, I got to go through the treatments. How many rounds of chemo did I do?
12.
I dropped out. I was supposed to have 16. I dropped out at 14. 14. I had one called the Red Devil. I mean, it was a whole mind bend to go have a chest port with red Kool-Aid colored stuff go through your veins. Talk about vibration real quick. I felt every negative vibration. I could feel the fluorescent lights in the room and all the negative. I felt the dark.
Mm-hmm.
I knew there were dark and light entities that we tap into with our thoughts. 100% on that. I turned gray. I got big. Like instead of losing weight, I was massive.
Really?
I'd walk. I gained 25 pounds. I had no eyebrows, no eyelashes, and no hair on my head. My girlfriend tattooed my brows before I lost it all. So I had a stencil. And I'd walk around the house with compression socks and a big old pregnant stomach and his t-shirts. And he'd go, "You're the most beautiful thing I've ever seen." He did.
When you love
He told
someone, it
me-
doesn't matter.
He told me every day, "You are so beautiful." And I was like, no, I don't have, like, I looked like an alien when I looked in the mirror, and I had a chest port from the first
Your
one
Metaport.
that failed.
Yeah.
My Metaport. And then I had this big old hunker thing. And he would just be like, "You're so beautiful." And then I got through that. I had my breasts taken off with tissue expanders. So they were like these hard things
Right.
killing me every day. And he was like, "They look great. You look sexy." Like, and I did save my lymph nodes. I did.
Oh, good.
I did.
That's a whole other story.
That is a whole nother story.
KU wanted to take them.
KU wanted to rip all my lymph nodes out, level 1, 2, 3. I knew something was wrong. His stepdad, knew that wasn't right. He said, "You're going to have lymphedema. Your arm's going to be this big.
Yeah.
Don't do that. You need to go to Cedars-Sinai. They're doing this thing where they put the dye in and they trace it." Do you know? I had to pray hard on that one. That was a tough one. I had to pray.
And KU wanted to take both of your nipples.
They did. They wouldn't take my
And you were
nipples
able to
off.
save your nipples.
And they said it was too
Cedars-Sinai.
close. So I went to Cedars. They saved.
I
They
mean, that's
they
like a big
biopsied.
thing.
Those are big
Well, yeah.
things.
I mean,
Yeah.
These are
listen,
serious
they
things
do
that if you
cute
just said,
tattoos now.
Yeah, let's just do the surgery.
Well, I mean, think about intimacy.
Yeah. Well, and
Not for your gratification, but for hers.
and both. Like, let's be honest. Like, I want him to have, And so at the end of the day, I had to fall. That was when I got to California, the God winks went wild. I saw everywhere we parked, the meter, all of it. So we got in and they did a nipple biopsy on both sides, even though there was no cancer. That's the protocol out there a week before the double mastectomy. And then they went in that week, put some dye in and where it leak out into my lymphatic system. I dropped out of chemo early, mind you, because I said, "I'm done. The tumor's not shrinking. You told me it was dead or it's not working. And you told me I only had a 20% chance of my kind of cancer working on your kind of chemo." But I just knew I was done. I get to California, do all that. Dr. Chung, she's amazing. She did the surgery. She calls me personally and says, "Guess what? It was Breast Cancer Awareness Month. It was like October 6th was when I did my mastectomy. So it was October 2nd when she called. And she said, "The cancer's dead. We only found one dead cancer in one lymph node. We took out 3. We do not need to do a further dissection."
Oh, that's amazing.
And I bawled. I was with my mom. We were right by a market with a fish market, and we were like crying in the store. And I kept saying, "Is this diagnostic or is this therapeutic? If you take all my lymph nodes out, can it come back?" And they said, "Well, yeah." I said, "So is this diagnostic to remove every single lymph node or is this therapeutic?" And this was language that his stepdad had given me. And they said, "I mean, it helps your chances." And it was like, "No, I need." And so, listen, God, I got to say, like, there's a woman who just died. God bless her. Like, I'm not going to cry because she's in a better place, but she has 2 little boys. And she reached out to me at the very beginning of all this. And she's like 30 years old. Found it while she was breastfeeding. And they just took so much from her. And she had lymphedema so bad. She was making her kids dinner and she burned her arm on the oven, and then her arm got big from lymphedema. And like, this happens to people by a bee sting. I'm wearing a limb alert because today when I got my shot, they have to put limb alert on my arm. But do you know how much my anxiety is down knowing that there's just 3 that were removed instead of the whole axillary dissection
Well,
they wanted to do?
And here, at the end of the day, it's like, do you want to live your life that way?
No. If it comes back,
Yeah, I mean,
so be it. I need my arm.
You'll
Yeah.
fight. You'll
I'm
fight it.
right-handed.
If it comes back, you'll fight it then.
Or it's my time.
Or it's your time.
Okay.
Yeah.
It's
Yeah.
okay.
yeah, I mean,
I did radiation, 16 intensive rounds of radiation. Got burned. Thank God I recovered. I still get shots. I had my expanders replaced with implants. and I feel like a whole person. And so I'm speaking. I'm here
with you.
I'm here today. I was like, I don't want to get too far away from all of it, but like it's Breast Cancer Awareness Month. There are women and men. There are men, and I'm a fan of the men. I have 2 brothers. I love you guys. Like, but the men and the women, like I'm here for breast cancer, ovarian cancer, anybody out there fighting cancer. Like, I'm just passionate to be your own advocate. Talk to the connected doctors that you know. Like you said earlier, if you have a doctor in the family or a friend that's versed, do some research, call around. Don't get anxiety about it and wear yourself out. Listen to your intuition. You guys to me are an example of the right and the left, like Tony and I, the brothers in this room.
Yeah.
Like you guys are the right and the left. We're the right and the left. Like, but we all do the dance. We all do. Like he leads me, I lead him. He's secure enough as a man to let me lead and have a career and do things. And then I hold back, and he's way smarter and has a way bigger heart than I ever thought about having because he's quiet. And it is so true. And he listens and he's patient, and I'm fast and I gotta go. And he's like patient. Like it's such a beautiful dance if you honor both.
Yeah, Michelle and I are the same way.
Yeah.
She's chill.
Yeah.
I'm go, go, go.
You need to chill and you need to go, go, go. You need somebody that worries and somebody that doesn't.
That's
Yeah.
how Caitlin and I are as well. Yeah, she's
You
like
know, Well,
way more chill than I am.
I think getting to a place where you're just like, I'm comfortable with whatever happens.
Yeah.
That's a good place to be. It's the only place to be.
Yeah.
The key to life.
It's the key to life.
It's freedom.
You know what it reminds
freedom.
me
It's
of
release.
is the story in the Bible. I think it's in Daniel, Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego. You ever read it? So basically, the king says, you're going to kneel to the statue. And they said, no, we're not. We're not kneeling to the statue. We kneel to one thing and one thing only. It's not going to be that statue. He says, if you don't kneel to it, throwing you in the fire. And they said, hey, you could either throw us in the fire and we die, or you try to put us in there and we live. But regardless, it don't matter to us. We ain't kneeling to it.
Yeah.
And that is the place where everyone needs to be.
Yeah.
That and then the story goes that they turned it up so hot that the people, the guards that threw him in there got burned, and they were unscathed.
Yes.
And then the king said, we're not bound to this statue anymore. We're bound to the God of Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego.
Yeah.
And so that is the place where I try to get myself to get through life. But in you in particular, you have to be there. You have to be in that space.
I talked to women. I talked to like 15 survivors when it all started, and a lot of them were strong. Well, they're all strong. Listen, I don't care what stage they were in. And by the way, there's progesterone, estrogen, HER2 negative, triple negative. There's a million types of breast cancer out there. Some are invasive, some are contained, some go in the lobes, some go in the milk ducts. There's a whole different kind of chemo. It's not just like a bump. Like this is a whole world that no one teaches us. This is what the kids need to learn in school. This is your health. This is your mind. This is your body. This is how we breathe. This is how, if you think this, then that is true for you. If you think that is a demon, then yes, like you make your own inner hell and heaven. And there's a freedom in releasing and saying, I'm going to go through the fear and I'm going to conquer the fear. And I'm going to go through the sadness. I'm going to conquer the sad. I'm going to go through the anger. I'm going to conquer the anger. And I'm going to set a boundary and even honor disgust. When I've had enough of something, I'm going to honor myself. And I'm not going to let anything that comes from an insecure, artificial, intelligent place persuade me. I'm not going to let some TikTok influencer who made me feel insecure because I don't have those new pants persuade me. I'm not going to let somebody's insecurity bleed on me because I know what I know. And if it's my time to die, it's my time to die. But you're not going to get me there quicker.
That's good stuff.
I think that's where we stop.
Yeah.
I mean, that was really.
Yeah. That's good stuff. And there will be, YouTube does a good job of transcribing videos from So if you ever want to get a transcription of the things,
That's a reel right there,
that-
buddy.
that's a reel. Yeah, absolutely.
That's a reel right
That's
there.
wonderful.
Well, anyway,
Thank
thank
you.
you guys both very much. I appreciate you guys coming on. And if we don't stop, I'm going to be here another hour. And
What time is? Oh, well,
Yeah.
listen, you guys are doing God's work.
we
You got
try.
big
Yeah.
hearts, good brains.
Come on.
You're centered individual. You are an example to the men, like my husband is. Like the three of you men, because I'm a guy's girl and a girl's girl. Like you men should look after all three of you and say, like, I get pissed off and I rage, and you guys are role models to the community.
I would like to say this. I'm really proud of you guys for putting this
Thanks,
together
Tone.
Thank
because
you.
I think trying to do anything in life is always a thought, and then usually 5 minutes later you just forget about it. So going through with it and finishing the job is everything. And so I'm really proud of you guys for just getting it done, man.
Thanks, Tone.
Thank
I
you.
appreciate it. Thank
Yeah.
you very much.
And I'm proud of you for sticking by me and all my crazy.
There you go.
Yes.
Amen to that.
Amen.
All right,
Thank
guys.
you. Thanks for
so
being
much.
on. All right.
Bye.